Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
And let me say, it is a true honor and privilege to have, as our guest, the shooter Brent Albright. Mr. Albright, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys today?
We are absolutely fine. I just want to say that I've been looking forward to this interview since November.
Really? You know what? I would have done interviews a lot sooner, but you know the way that those contracts are, they want you to be quiet till you have till you get your 90 days.
Yeah, that's
so.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your current situation. You're wrestling in Ring of Honor.
Right.
Your character is known as the Gun for Hire.
Right.
For those of our listeners who don't know, that seems to be that's a mercenary guy who's willing to quote unquote injure people for the right price. Am I correct?
Yeah, injure or take out or basically do anything. I'm the guy that people hire to take other people out, and that's the character. That's what I do.
Is that something you enjoy playing?
Of course, always. I enjoy that role a lot. Especially with Ring of Honor, I get to do a lot of different things that I haven't done before. Like we've got a big match scheduled for February 16th in the Manhattan Center against PJ Whitmer for Ring of Honor, where it's tables are legal match.
Oh.
And matches like that, I haven't done a whole lot of. So, matches where you get to choose different things and different elements, in the wrestling world is something I really enjoy doing.
Who came up with the idea for the character?
That was Gabe. Gabe liked the idea of doing the Gun for Hire and being a mercenary. I'm one of the bigger guys in Ring of Honor, and he thought that with my wrestling style and my demeanor and my approach to the wrestling, to the way I wrestle, he thought that would be a good gimmick.
And I know you've wrestled Colt Cabana. I think you've had a match with Homicide, or you had a moment with Homicide?
Yeah, I had a match with Homicide. I think it was during the Chicago Spectacular. I think it was about a month and a half ago.
What's different about the Ring of Honor style compared to the WWE style?
The Ring of Honor style seems to be a little more physical, and which I like. And I think more than anything, wrestling is wrestling, but more than anything, the thing I like about Ring of Honor, the difference to me is the fans. Man, the fans are crazy, and they go in there and they spend their money and they enjoy, they go spend their money to have a good time. And if they're, they get themselves worked up. And if they like something, they really let you know. And if they don't like it, they let you know.
You haven't had any let's say R-rated chants from the fans yet, or?
Any R-rated chants?
Well,
yeah,
from those fans. I mean, if I can explain, some of the fans are quite they use graphic language.
Right. No, I haven't. I don't think I've had any R-rated chants yet. I had a couple of "You Got Fired" chants and some, but not any R-rated chants. Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Not that I can remember.
And I believe at the last taping, you had a tag team match with one of our website's favorite guests, Jimmy Jacobs.
Yes.
What's he like both in and out of the ring?
Jimmy is in the ring. Jimmy he's tough and he's crazy, and but outside the ring he's pretty he keeps to himself. He and I hang out a little bit, but for the most part, he likes to keep to himself and. And, that's perfectly fine with me. That's cool. Everybody likes, I keep to myself a little bit too, but he's a quiet guy, and, he just kind of does his own thing.
Okay. Well, we have some questions about your background, if we can spend a little time going through that.
Sure.
What made you want to be a pro wrestler?
Well, when I was a little kid, me and my cousin, we grew up watching wrestling, the WWE version, of course, the Junkyard Dog and Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth Hulk Hogan, we'd watch the cartoons, we watched the WWE cartoon and, on Saturday mornings and man, we really enjoyed wrestling. And so as I got older, I got into amateur wrestling, which at first I thought was, oh man, high school, they're going to let me wrestle in high school. And of course it was something totally different than what I thought I was getting into. But I actually learned to really like the competitive side of high school wrestling and, kept professional wrestling, in the back of my mind. And then when I was in college, on Christmas break, I was laying in bed one morning and I saw advertisement for a local wrestling school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I said, you know what? I said, I ought to go check this out. Maybe I can give this a try and see what it's like. And of course, from day one, I was hooked.
Besides wrestling, did you do any other sports in high school?
I played baseball. I played football, But actually, at one point, I'd stopped playing baseball and football just to wrestle because I enjoyed it that much.
Well, many of our listeners also have this dream about living the dream. So could you tell us about your first match in the business?
Yeah, my first match was at a fair or festival in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma called Rooster Days, and I believe it was around April or May, so it was still kind of chilly outside. Here I am for the first time wearing trunks and boots in front of all these people, and of course at that time I was kind of skinny. I was about 195 pounds, and it was. I remember it being really cold, and I got the tar beat out of me. Just because that's, for this area around here, that's kind of what they did. I got the tar beat out of me, and I made the hot tag, and then I got tagged back in, and I got pinned. I mean, that was my first match, but it was, but as even though it went like that, man, I enjoyed it. I had so much fun. I thought, this is what, this is really what I want to do. Then this is a good time. This is fun. I love this.
Now that was during the big heyday of the Monday Night Wars, I believe, 1998.
Yeah, 19. It was. I believe it was that April or May of '98. Correct.
I have to ask because I grew up at that point in time, and I too tried to be a wrestler, but I broke my legs. But that's beside the point. But how many students did you have, or not have, but how many students were you training with at the time?
I believe there was 12 in the first class that I went through. There was 12 in that class. I believe there was 10 in the class before that, and there was always at least 10 to 12 kids or 10 to 12 students in the classes after that.
Okay. And was there one particular wrestler that you tried to emulate while you were training?
I always, when I was training, I always liked, during this time, I always liked Bret Hart. He was probably my favorite wrestler, and I was like, I can do this, and be like Bret Hart, and that was, I believe that was probably a big inspiration.
All right. Well, let's fast forward a few years. You took part in various Raw and SmackDown dark matches in 2003.
Right.
Were these part of your tryouts into getting into the company?
I guess you could say that. At one point, I was contacted by the head of talent relations at that point, who was Dr. Tom Pritchard, and he called me, and because I was going to do, he wanted guys to come in when they would come to Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and he had known of me from seeing me before, and he called and said, "Hey, you know, why don't you come down and be an extra in the, you know, be an extra, you know, come be catering and, you know, and all that." I said, "Okay, that sounds good." So I did that, and I actually got a dark match that night. At that particular time, I don't remember who it was with. I think that night, I think it was Oklahoma City. I think that night it was against Maven.
Oh.
And I had a pretty good match. And so, of course, I went to Tulsa the next night and had a dark match, or it's actually a velocity match, I believe it was, with it was me and a guy named Gabe Roach versus Jamie Noble and Nunzio. And again, you know, it was another match, you know, another, you know, one of those, you know, velocity match for those guys. And after it was over, Dr. Tom called me, or I called Dr. Tom to thank him for booking me on. He said, "Hey, look," because I want you to go and you know, I want to try to help you out. We're going to try to get you on as many shows as you can be on. I said, "Okay." So we sat down and we looked at how many shows I could drive to, and I think it came out to be like 12 or 13. So I drove or flew myself out to 12 or 13 different shows around the country just to try to get, you know, a job. And I think they saw me so much, and I was there all the time. I was consistently doing and having good matches. And I got to work, guys. I got to work the Ultimate Dragon one night. I got to work, me and Mr. Kennedy got to work a tag team match together against Cade and Jim Track. You know, I worked against the FBI, Stamboli and Chuck Palumbo. And so, I mean, you know, a lot of those, you know, I got to work a lot of guys, and I got to work Val Venus. You know, I got to work a lot of guys, and they liked what I did. And so I sat down and talked to Johnny Ace, and he goes, "Well, you know, you're not really in the kind of shape we want you to be in." At that time, I was about 240, but I had a good build, but I wasn't, you know, I was kind of soft through the middle. And he goes, "What I want you to do is I really like you to be around 225 or so." He says, "So the Survivor, you know, we're going to be in Dallas. I think they're like Dallas, Houston area, in a month or so." He goes, "I want you to lose a little bit of weight, and then we'll see you in a month." And I said, "Okay, no big deal." So I lost. You know, I got down to 225, just like they said. And the Friday before the Survivor Series, Dr. Tom called me and says, "Hey, do you want to come do this pay-per-view? We got a spot for you to, you know, security guard role that we want you to do." I said, "Okay, great." So I went down there and I got to do a security guard role and get beat up by Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was incredible. I thought that was great, getting beat up by Stone Cold on a pay-per-view. You know, it doesn't get any better than that, as, you know, if you're an indie guy. And then the next night we did a security role for, you know, did security and, you know, escorted out Shawn Michaels on Raw, and on SmackDown I didn't do anything. So I thought, man, you know, I guess they don't have anything for me. You know, it was fun, but, you know, they don't have anything for me. I got to kind of rethink what my next move is. I was on an indie booking. I was flying out and I was in the airport. Called Dr. Tom again to thank him for booking me for the shows and things like that. And he said, "Hey, do you want to come work for the company? You know, do you want a developmental contract?" I said, "Yeah, I do." So, you know, and at that point, that was in November, and in January, you know, at the end of December, we moved to, me and my wife and my son moved to Louisville, Kentucky, go to OVW.
Cool. Well, I guess now we can transition to some OVW questions. I guess first one is, how is Jim Cornette as a boss?
I thought Jim Cornette was great. Me and Cornette are fairly tight. You know, I always I respected everything that Cornette did and booked. I mean, he was, you know, he to me is one of the best managers in the wrestling business. You know, he knows. You know, he knows when he needs to be, you know, apart and when he needs to be back, but you always know he's there. And as far as being a booker and a boss, I really enjoyed the way that he booked and the stuff that he wrote for the OVW television.
Now, while in OVW, you had a series of matches with one CM Punk.
Correct.
Now, I've seen a lot of these matches, and it seemed that you two were pretty much a step ahead of everybody else at the time. When you two feuded, do you think that feud helped you in the eyes of the WWE?
I think it did. I mean, if you got two guys in your developmental territory that were having the kind of matches that me and CM Punk had, and really stood us, head and shoulders apart of everybody else. I don't think it can't. I surely don't think it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, me and CM Punk had a really good chemistry together, and we understood what needed to be done to get ourselves over, and we trusted each other in the ring with our bodies, and we just went out there and we wrestled, and we put on a good show.
Awesome. Well, stepping back a second, who were some of your trainers in OVW?
Let's see. We started off with Rip Rogers, who was a veteran from way back in the day, and then we transitioned over to Danny Davis for a little while, who's the owner of OVW and once part of the Nightmares, one of the best tag teams around the territories and in the '80s, and then we transitioned into Lance Storm, which in my opinion is a terrific trainer. Lance Storm is very technically sound and has been in a lot of big match situations and has a lot of experience. I thought he was a great trainer. Then we transitioned into Bill DeMott for a little while, which that was Bill had a little bit of a different way of training, and he liked to be a little more physical with with squats and bumps and things like that, which I think is also needs to be a part. And then whenever Lance they wanted Lance to renew, I think Lance wanted to do something else. I think he wanted to open his own school. So whenever he went to do that, then we got Al Snow, which Al Snow is has a different way of training. Al sat down and gave us a little more of the of how the business used to be run, and how they got and how they did things with territories and things like that, and helped us out with with his version of psychology, which I loved. His version, and then his way of thinking was real simple, and it didn't take a whole lot of thought. You just had to have common sense, and that's what I really liked about Al. If you had common sense, you could understand where Al was going and what he was trying to teach you.
I guess the final OVW question I have for you is: was there a huge change in the promotion when Cornette left?
There was a change. It was when Cornette left. When Cornette left, the booking was kind of up in the air. We had Tommy Dreamer come in and book for a little while, and there was a little gap there. But then they brought in Paul Heyman. Paul brought in his style of booking and put everything, brought everything kind of together, and went on one direction with the TV show, which was a very good, very entertaining direction, and a different direction than what OVW had been going in the past. And I think it was needed at the time, just because there wasn't a whole lot of continuity from the time Cornette left to the time Paul Heyman got there. So Heyman brought in a lot of brought continuity back to the storylines and started making it his own and making it, and everybody stepped up and started performing. And of course, at that time too, the lights started clicking for a lot of people. And so it just happened to be that when Paul Heyman was there, a lot of people were still training and working hard, so they started getting better. And then Paul knew how to pull the right things out of them. And the shows were really, really good.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to talk a little bit about your WWE time.
Okay.
When you finally made it to SmackDown after 2 years in OVW, you debuted with not only the Gunnar Scott gimmick, but a win over Booker T. Now, Was there any heat put on you for getting such a big win so soon?
Oh no, not at all. That was the way they used to do it. That's a very old school style of booking. The way they did that, you bring in a new guy that you want to develop, and you give him a win over a well-known veteran, and you go with a storyline from there, and that's what they did.
Now, here's probably the most bonehead question I've got, and it's one from one of our forum members, and I have to ask it. Was the Gunner Scott character supposed to be a protege of Chris Benoit?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. Thanks for being nice about answering that. When he became injured, did that kill the momentum of the character?
I think it did, but I think the momentum of the character was kind of had already started to take a downfall just before he left before he was being injured. Right before he left to heal some of his injuries. They wanted me to be Chris Benoit's protege, but they didn't want me to wrestle like Chris Benoit. And they had a problem with the way that I wrestled, because I wrestled like a guy who was trained by Chris Benoit, which is what I thought they wanted, but apparently that's not what they wanted. So at that point it got really confusing, and I didn't really know what they wanted.
Okay, well.
And so that was kind of the downfall of the character.
Okay. Well, the internet can be a place of tremendous misinformation, and I'm partially guilty of that myself sometimes. When you were released from the WWE, everyone assumed that it was because you wrestled too much like Benoit. But what was the real reason that you were given for your?
I was told that creative didn't have anything for me, and that apparently I didn't do enough to change the way that I wrestled.
Okay.
Now, I wrestle how I wrestle. My mannerisms and all that. I mean, that's how I do it. And if changing meant that they wanted me to put on a wig and clown makeup and stuff like that, and be a character, some kind like a Eugene or something like that. That you're right. I didn't change, because that's not what I wanted to be. Now, Eugene, that thing works out great for him, and that's good, and I think he's great at it. But something like that's not going to work out for me. I'm not that guy, and I don't know if that, because that was the thing. They never really told me what they wanted out of me, and so I don't know if that was, what they wanted, or if they just, they wanted me to wear tights instead of trunks. That was the whole thing. And I was on the verge of changing my look, about 2 weeks before I got fired. I had already started that process, and then they let me go.
All right. Well, I just a couple more questions, and then I guess we can let you go. And once again, thank you for spending the time with us.
Oh, hey, no problem.
All right. Is the money different on the? Let me rephrase that. Is the money on the independent scene different now that you can call yourself a former WWE superstar?
Different than it was when I wasn't?
Right.
Yes, it is.
All right. In what way, if I may ask?
Because me and CM Punk were talking about this the other day. Because there's some guys that just got released from OVW, and of course they're all looking for work too, and some of them had not had any national television exposure. And without that television exposure, the money, the money's not there. You have the exposure. There's people are going to be willing to bring you in for a little more money. Like some of these guys, they're going to get less money than I think they deserve, but without the TV time, the money's not there. And that's the big difference. Whenever and I'm not saying that I'm a big somebody, because I had 2 months on TV, 2.5 months, but just that 2.5 months and being so well known from OVW, you know, that was enough to be able to bump me up to making, you know, to be able to make a little more money than most indie wrestlers make.
Mm-hmm. Well, the final question I have for you, if TNA showed any interest, would you be willing to work there?
Yeah, it's one of those things where right now, you know, TNA is, and until they get a 2-hour time slot, they're not really, they're not really in the position to be hiring people. And of course, if they were to, you know, come at me with an offer, I'd take a look at it. But right now, my main focus is on Ring of Honor and trying to wrestle in Japan. And that's really where my focus is. I mean, TNA would have to come at me with a really, really, really good offer for me to do that. Because right now, I'm really enjoying having a good time and doing what I'm doing in Ring of Honor and trying to get over into Japan with Pro Wrestling Noah. I mean, that's where my focus is right now. And you know, it would take a lot to take me away from that.